As 2021 dawned, nearly every industry on Earth was still suffering the effects of 2020, including the world of television. Here are some of the familiar favorites leaving the airwaves in 2021, and the often strange reasons why. Peaky Blinders is one of the most ambitious crime dramas to ever grace television. Based somewhat on the true story of a street gang that terrorized Birmingham and other parts of the UK in the years between World War I and World War II. The dark, violent, and stylish show evoked underworld sagas like The Godfather. It also presented a view of the interwar period rarely approached in media, along with showcasing an all-star cast that included Cillian Murphy, Tom Hardy, and Anya Taylor-Joy. Peaky Blinders remained a popular, much-discussed series well into its run, both on the BBC in the UK and on Netflix in the US. In May 2018, creator Stephen Knight told the Birmingham Press Club just before the debut of Season 5 that a 6th season of Peaky Blinders was on the way, with a 7th season likely, if not probable. However, after the pandemic-related shutdowns delayed the shooting of Season 6, Knight changed his plans. He told Variety, "COVID came along and we lost a year of production, so we put our heads together and thought that it would be a good idea to do a movie instead of doing Series 7. That means Peaky Blinders fans can at least look forward to that." In 2016, HBO debuted Insecure, starring co-creator Issa Rae as Issa D, a woman in her late 20s trying to balance all the different threads in her life while searching for fulfillment and purpose. When the series begins, Issa works at a Los Angeles nonprofit designed to help young students of color succeed. Acclaimed for being a thoughtful and vital look at 21st century life for African American women, Insecure scored an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Comedy Series. Insecure was a fully fleshed out, grander realization of Awkward Black Girl, Rae's confessional YouTube series from the 2010s. Along with co-creator Larry Wilmore, Rae mapped out a show designed to tell a finite story about a certain period in the life of her character and her social circle. Rae shared with Deadline, "We always planned to tell this story through 5 seasons." HBO renewed the series for its 5th season in May 2020, which Rae confirmed in January 2021 would be its last. Set in a police precinct deep in New York City, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is one of the most acclaimed sitcoms of the 2010s and beyond. Revolving around the goofy but actually talented detective Jake Peralta, who is played by Andy Samberg, the crew of the Nine-Nine is more like a family. It's led by stone-faced Captain Raymond Holt, played by Andre Braugher, and involves neurotic Sergeant Terry Jeffords, played by Terry Crews, Jake-worshipping Detective Boyle, played by Joe Lo Truglio, and self-absorbed community liaison Gina, played by Chelsea Peretti. Brooklyn Nine-Nine's pull was strong, seeing that when Fox canceled it in 2018, it was immediately revived by NBC.
This isn't over yet.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine's 8th season was delayed, set to air during the 2019-2020 season. Coronavirus-related shutdowns of Hollywood productions pushed back those episodes. Then, after a spate of deaths of African Americans at the hands of law enforcement, including those of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, the anti-police brutality and overall anti-police sentiment that in part fueled coast-to-coast protests led to a reckoning over cop shows. Shows thought to glorify police, like Cops and Live PD, were immediately canceled. Producers for Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a gentle comedy about police officers, tossed all the scripts written for its 8th season in order to start over with recent events in mind. All of this weighed heavily on an aging show that was not a ratings hit. NBC announced that Brooklyn Nine-Nine would return for its 8th and final season in 2021, with a limited run of just 10 episodes. Owns the Haves and the Have-Nots is a good old-fashioned 1980s-style, scandal-free, family drama-loaded primetime soap. Set in the beautiful and moneyed city of Savannah, Georgia, the story centers in part on the locally dominant Cryers and Harringtons, who have abundant wealth and resources at their disposal. Those are the haves, while the have-nots are the youngs. A working-class family led by single mother Hannah, played by Crystal Fox, who works in the home of the Cryers. There's plenty of intrigue with the servants, as well as when the two sides of the socioeconomic coin interact, making for a show that feels like a modern-day Downton Abbey. The series comes from the mind of prolific show creator and producer Tyler Perry. In 2017, he signed a deal to make scripted series for the channel. The first show under that deal was The Haves and the Have-Nots, OWN's first scripted series, which drew an average of 3 million viewers, which was huge for the sometimes struggling network. After a run of 8 years and nearly 200 episodes, The Haves and the Have-Nots will end its run in May 2021, the last vestige of Perry's contract with the Oprah Winfrey Network. He moved on from the channel in 2017, signing a development deal to make shows for Viacom outlets, including BET. The end of this show marks a clean contractual break with Perry's former creative home. Mom was a tricky sitcom from day one, but the cast and crew pulled it off. Co-created by Two and a Half Men and the Big Bang Theory mastermind Chuck Lorre, Mom mined humor from addiction recovery. Scary Movie star Anna Faris played Christy, a recovering alcoholic in the early stages of putting her life back together while balancing family responsibilities. She did all this while dealing with the handful that was her mother, Bonnie, played by Allison Janney, also dealing with her own addiction issues. In September 2020, just days before Mom was set to start production on its 8th season, Faris abruptly walked away from the series. When the show returned to the air 2 months later, Mom writers got rid of Christy by explaining that she'd moved away to attend law school at Georgetown University. Months later, CBS announced that Mom would end at the conclusion of its only season without Faris. The show arguably couldn't suffer the blow of losing its star, but Christy's exit also marked the final step in the Mom story arc. When the show began in 2013, it was a vehicle for Faris, and the action centered on her character, a single mother raising 2 children. Over time, the kids were completely written out, and the spotlight moved over to Christy's mother Bonnie and her Alcoholics Anonymous group. The NCIS format follows highly trained Naval Criminal Investigative Service agents as they investigate and solve Navy-related crimes. The NCIS premise is one that keeps on giving. Since 2003, the franchise has generated more than 400 episodes of the Washington, D.C.-based NCIS, nearly 300 of spin-off NCIS Los Angeles, and about 150 of NCIS New Orleans, starring veteran TV actor Scott Bakula as Team Leader Supervisory Special Agent Dwayne Cassius Pride. This iteration of the crime procedural saga hit CBS in 2014, and at one point ranked among the top 10 most-watched shows on TV. But that was years ago. In February 2021, CBS announced that NCIS New Orleans would end at the conclusion of its 7th season. The cancellation comes in part due to falling viewership. In the 2020-21 season, no CBS drama suffered a bigger drop than NCIS New Orleans, which also loses 750,000 viewers from its lead-in show, NCIS Los Angeles, and accumulates a total draw of about half of the original NCIS. It especially didn't make sense for CBS to keep making new episodes of the New Orleans series because it didn't generate big money in reruns and on streaming the way the other 2 NCIS shows do. Meanwhile, NCIS New Orleans showrunners have already agreed to take over a potential new CBS drama, NCIS Hawaii. With 4 distinct iterations airing decades apart, The Twilight Zone is one of the most oft-revived shows in TV history. The original, hosted by creator Rod Serling, aired from 1959 to 1964, followed by a 1985 to 1989 version, another from 2002 to 2003, and a 4th, debuting in 2019 on CBS All Access. Standing in for Serling was Academy Award-winning Get Out and Us filmmaker Jordan Peele, who also co-developed the show. Like its predecessor, this modern-day Twilight Zone told spooky, unsettling, and hard-to-forget stories of fright, dread, regret, and other dark parts of the human psyche. Right around the time that Viacom CBS prepared to convert its CBS All Access service into Paramount+, the producers in charge of this latest Twilight Zone series announced that they would not be making new episodes for the rebooted streamer. Peele and co-producer Simon Kinberg decided they'd accomplished what they'd set out to do. According to the New York Daily News, Peele and Kinberg's production companies shared a joint statement saying, "After 20 unique episodes, we have told the stories that we wanted to tell, and CBS All Access was gracious in their understanding of our decision." Wynonna Earp is one of the wildest and most original TV series in recent memory. The show depicts the adventures of the modern-day descendant of strong-armed Old West lawman Wyatt Earp, who returns to her Rocky Mountains hometown where she does battle with revenants. the supernatural monster versions of the 19th century scofflaws her great-great-grandfather killed in the line of duty. The show debuted in the US on Spike in 2016, and after 3 seasons moved to Sci-Fi for season 4. That network was supposed to air a 5th season before reversing course in February 2021, announcing that the 4th run would be the last for Wynonna Earp. It's a near miracle that those episodes were even finished. Production company IDW ran out of money, which delayed filming for almost a year. Sci-Fi agreed to foot the bill, but then the pandemic led to a shutdown shortly after filming began. And then, Sci-Fi's parent company, NBC Universal, restructured its programming strategy, deciding to emphasize streaming content instead of cable network originals. Killing Eve is a thrilling show, a darkly comic, action-packed, high-stakes chase drama about a brutal, globe-trotting assassin named Villanelle, played by Jodie Comer, and Sandra Oh's character, Eve, the American-born British intelligence officer in constant pursuit. They're both obsessed with one another for varied and complicated reasons, and in its early seasons, Killing Eve was one of the hottest shows on TV, in the UK and in the US, with O winning a Golden Globe and Comer winning an Emmy. The show has a very finite premise. Eventually, Eve and Villanelle have to come face-to-face for a final showdown, with one winner and one loser. And in 2021, AMC announced that the show would end after its 4th season. Those episodes were delayed due to pandemic-related production shutdowns, and the season will consist of only 8 episodes, which are set to air in 2022. However, while Killing Eve is dead, the franchise will continue. In a statement, AMC original programming president Dan McDermott shared, "The network is exploring potential extensions of this compelling universe. So hopefully, some kind of spin-off is on the way." Celebrated and immensely popular fantasy author Neil Gaiman published one of his masterworks in 2001, the novel American Gods. The story depicts the ancient mythological and religious deities of Europe, Africa, and Asia brought to the United States over centuries of immigration and diaspora, struggling to stay alive as their adherents die out, and also waging a battle with powerful new gods like media and the technology allegory Technical Boy. It's a complicated, heady brew, and it was often held up as an example of an unfilmable work, a novel impossible to reasonably adapt to film. And yet, in 2017, Starz brought American Gods to the small screen in the form of a continuing weekly series in the hands of screenwriter Michael Green and Brian Fuller. However, American Gods experienced a lot of backstage issues. Toward the end of the show's 1st season, showrunners Green and Fuller departed, unable to resolve creative differences with Starz executives, and cast members Christian Chenoweth and Gillian Anderson followed them out the door. More showrunners came and went, actors reportedly rewrote their own scripts to improve them, and then cast member Orlando Jones was fired, which he believes was racially motivated. Starz ended the whole thing in March 2021, announcing that American Gods' already aired 3rd season, which ended with a cliffhanger, would be the show's last. The network added that a finale movie or miniseries in the future was a possibility. Creator Emily Spivey, a writer for Parks and Recreation and King of the Hill, based Bless the Harts on elements and characters from her North Carolina hometown. The animated family sitcom is loaded with comedic heavy hitters, with Kristen Wiig voicing single mother and fish restaurant waitress Jenny Hart, Maya Rudolph portraying Jenny's aggressive and wild mother, Betty, Ike Barinholtz as Jenny's boyfriend Wayne, and Jillian Bell as Jenny's artsy teenage daughter Violet. A show full of crackling comedy and heart, Bless the Harts fit right in on Fox's Sunday night animation lineup alongside similar series like The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers. However, in the midst of the show's 2nd season, Fox announced that it would not order a 3rd season. The reason? Not just bad ratings, but extremely bad ratings. In Season 2, Bless the Harts pulled in only 1.3 million viewers on average, making it Fox's lowest-rated Sunday night show and 2nd least-watched show of the 2020-21 season overall. In the midst of the great mid-2010s reboot and revival craze that returned everything from Twin Peaks to Murphy Brown to television, CBS ordered a new version of MacGyver. The original show premiered in 1985. And this innovative action series focused on a brilliant secret agent played by Richard Dean Anderson, whose aversion to firearms meant that he had to use his wits and whatever items he could find to save the day and beat the bad guys. On the new MacGyver, which debuted in 2016, Lucas Till played the role, only his version was younger and more charming of a rogue. MacGyver was a top 30 hit in its first year, but by its fifth and ultimately final season, it ranked number 10 in viewership of CBS's 14 dramas. Prior to the season, CBS fired executive producer Peter M. Lenkoff for fostering a difficult work environment, bolstered by allegations from Till and Vanity Fair that he'd been verbally abused and body-shamed on set to the degree that he'd felt suicidal. And CBS was also involved in a MacGyver lawsuit. In December 2018, the rights holders of the original MacGyver sued over unpaid royalties generated by the new series. According to Deadline, just before canceling the show, CBS released a statement calling out the suit for, quote, fatal, incurable deficiencies. If you or someone you know is having suicidal thoughts, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-8255, or text HOME to the crisis text line at 741-741. Plenty of comedians have hit it big in their native United Kingdom and then similarly found fame and fortune in North America, like Sacha Baron Cohen, Ricky Gervais, and the members of Monty Python. Katherine Ryan did the opposite. Born and raised in Canada, she became a popular comic and panel show guest in England. In 2020, Netflix in the US attempted to bring Ryan closer to home, picking up The Duchess, a 6-episode sitcom starring and created by the comedian. Ryan portrayed a character also named Catherine, a single mother looking to expand her family, if she can find a man worthy enough of being the father. Overall, critics hailed The Duchess, but Netflix didn't think enough subscribers gave it a shot. On an episode of The Secret 2 podcast released in April 2021, Ryan revealed that no more episodes of The Duchess would be produced, saying, "I think something like 10 million people watched it in 28 days, and that wasn't enough." There's also the issue of Ryan's schedule. A few weeks before The Duchess news broke, Netflix competitor Amazon signed her to make a new comedy show called Backstage with Katherine Ryan. It's a testament to the quality and universality of Sherlock Holmes that more than 130 years after the character created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle made its literary debut, filmmakers and screenwriters are still coming up with new and innovative ways to present and interpret the world of the brilliant deductive detective. And in March 2021, the 8-episode first season of The Irregulars hit Netflix, detailing the adventures of the scrappy, streetwise 19th century London ragamuffins who act as helpers and informants for Holmes. Out of the gate, The Irregulars was a major hit, ranking at one point as the most watched show on streaming, with viewers watching 643 million minutes worth and spending 18 straight days in Netflix's top 10. Why Netflix decided against identifying The Irregulars as a show it could renew is a mystery only Sherlock Holmes himself could solve. Not only was The Irregulars a bona fide smash, but the streaming service gave no reason for its April 2021 decision. The Last Kingdom first hit TV screens in 2015 as a BBC series, and then Netflix brought the sweeping historical drama, which occupied a similar niche as shows like Outlander and Vikings, to stateside audiences in 2018. Based on The Saxon Stories, the best-selling 13-novel series by Bernard Cornwell, The Last Kingdom is set in the British Isles in the late 800s, where Saxons have to contend with Vikings, invading hordes and power struggles. Alexander Dreymon stars as Uhtred, a warrior deeply conflicted about where his loyalties ought to lie. In April 2021, production company Carnival Films, in conjunction with Netflix, announced that the 5th season of The Last Kingdom, at the time in the middle of production, would be the series' last. According to a statement released by executive producer Nigel Marchant, it sounds as if The Last Kingdom has naturally reached the end, or near end, of the story it set out to tell. However, while the 5th season will reportedly be based on the 9th and 10th books in Cornwell's series, there are still 2 additional books that will remain untouched, which is a little curious. Regardless, as Marchant put it, we're excited to give viewers a chance to follow Uhtred on the next stage of his epic quest, where not everyone survives. Prodigal Son was a dark crime procedural, but it offered a twist on the enduring format. A riff on The Silence of the Lambs, the series centered on New York Police Department criminal profiler Malcolm Bright, played by Tom Paine, who got into the minds of suspects by consulting a notorious captured serial killer, played by Michael Sheen. Prodigal Son was one part cat and mouse game, one part unconventional father-son reconnecting drama. In May 2021, TV Line reported that Fox had decided against ordering a 3rd season of Prodigal Son, meaning that its already shot and edited second season finale would serve as a series capper. According to a Fox insider, executives really liked the show and wanted to make it work, but its ratings were so low that it wouldn't make economic sense to do so. Prodigal Son viewership numbers fell nearly 40% in its second season, and it was the least watched drama still standing on the Fox schedule. With the breadth and ambition of a gigantic novel, This Is Us has told both the big and small stories in the lives of the Pearsons, often jumping forward or backward in time to depict every major moment in the family's history, as well as the causes and aftermath. An emotionally driven and tear-jerking show, This Is Us has been a massive hit for NBC and earned Emmy nominations and wins from most of its primary cast, including Sterling K. Brown, Milo Ventimiglia, and Mandy Moore. In May 2019, NBC gave This Is Us a 3-season renewal, ensuring the timeline-hopping family drama would stay on the air through its 6th year and the 2021-22 season. That would turn out to be the last time NBC would order more episodes of This Is Us. When the network announced its plans for the 2021-22 season in May of 2021, it confirmed that This Is Us would air its last episodes during that time. This isn't really a true cancellation, however. 6 seasons was part of the master plan. After year 3, showrunner Isaac Aptaker told Deadline that the series would end in about 3 seasons in the future. And in 2020, creator Dan Fogelman told the Los Angeles Times, "By the time we're in our 6th season, you'll have a lot of the information about what's happened to this family. And what will be left is some resolution.
We're all gonna be fine."
In 2003, amidst the traditionally combative, confrontational, and personal problems-oriented world of daytime talk programs, viewers were treated to the Ellen DeGeneres show. The host, the dry and deadpan comedian best known for the 90s sitcom Ellen, injected late-night-style fun into her afternoon show, engaging in light-hearted interviews with celebrities when she wasn't pranking them, as well as recognizing and rewarding local heroes and then dancing through every spare moment. In May 2021, DeGeneres told The Hollywood Reporter that she would shut down the Ellen DeGeneres show when her contract to host the series ended in 2022. The main reason? It no longer thrilled her. DeGeneres shared, "When you're a creative person, you constantly need to be challenged, and as great as this show is, and as fun as it is, it's just not a challenge anymore." DeGeneres may also be bailing on a sinking TV ship. Ratings had fallen by nearly half from 2020 to 2021 in the wake of allegations and revelations that the Ellen DeGeneres show was a workplace fraught with hostility and misbehavior. Over its first 7 years, Blackish fit in nicely with ABC's lineup of domestic sitcoms like Modern Family and The Middle, but it was also much more thoughtful and ambitious than the usual exasperated working parents with rambunctious kids shows. Created by Kenya Barris, Blackish starred Anthony Anderson and Tracee Ellis Ross as Dre and Bo Johnson, parents of 4 attempting to raise their children into well-rounded and self-assured people while keeping wealthy privilege in check and ensuring that they never lose touch with their Black culture and identity. In May 2021, ABC renewed but also canceled Blackish, announcing that the thoughtful family sitcom would return sometime in the 2021-22 season for a final stretch of episodes. Blackish just might have run its course. Initially a show about raising kids, most of the young characters have come of age. The eldest Johnson daughter, Zoe, was already spun off into the freeform series Grownish. Furthermore, Blackish was one of the least watched shows on network TV in the 2019-2020 season, and the ratings doldrums continued in 2020-2021, helping ABC make its decision. Mixed-ish, an 80s-set spin-off about the childhood of Tracee Ellis Ross's character Bo, also didn't survive. ABC canceled the show after 2 seasons in May 2021, effective immediately. American Housewife was something of a throwback to sitcoms of the 80s and 90s, depicting the day-to-day lives of the argumentative and lightly dysfunctional Otto family. Geeky dad Greg, played by Dietrich Bader, and mischievous mom Katie, played by Katie Mixon, kept watch over their 3 headstrong kids: dumb teen Taylor, played by Mick Donnelly, money-obsessed Oliver, played by Daniel DiMaggio, and idiosyncratic Anna Cat, played by Julia Butters, while trying to remain the only scrupulous and tight-knit family in a superficial and ultra-wealthy Connecticut town. Heading into its 5th season, American Housewife faced personnel issues that it couldn't quite overcome. Julia Butters, who played Anna Cat, left the show after a breakout performance in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The role was recast, and the character rewritten with Giselle Eisenberg. Carly Hughes, who portrayed Katie Otto's friend and confidant Angela, also departed, telling Deadline, "I was no longer able to work in the toxic environment that was created on American Housewife." She alleged discriminatory practices by superiors, and after an internal investigation by ABC, the creator and producer and a line producer were no longer employed by the series. Nearly 2 months after the 5th season finale aired, it retroactively became a series finale when ABC canceled American Housewife. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.